1. The Night Shift Stalker. It was a cold November night when Marcus Thompson, a 28-year-old security guard, started his shift at the old Greenfield manufacturing plant. Marcus had worked nights before, but this job always felt different. There was something about the building's deserted corridors and creaking metal staircases that set his nerves on edge. He was assigned to the night shift alone, responsible for patrolling the entire facility from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Around 1:30 a.m., while making his routine rounds, Marcus noticed something unusual. The main entrance, which he was certain he had locked earlier, was slightly ajar. Assuming he had been careless, he locked it and continued his patrol. But the feeling of being watched didn't leave him. The corridors seemed darker than usual, and the faint sound of footsteps echoed just behind him. At first, Marcus tried to rationalize it: pipes, old machinery, his imagination, but the sound persisted. By 2:15 a.m., Marcus was near the storage warehouse when he spotted a shadow moving across the far end of the room. He froze, gripping his flashlight tightly, and called out, "Hello? Who's there?" There was no answer. The shadow seemed to dart from aisle to aisle, always staying just out of reach. Marcus's heart raced. He called the local police on his radio, but the signal was weak, and all he could do was describe what he saw and stay alert. As he continued to investigate, the intruder, or whatever it was, started leaving evidence. Small items were knocked over, a chair was moved, and Marcus noticed faint footprints in the dust-covered floor. Whoever it was knew the building well enough to avoid the main security cameras. He tried to follow the sound of the footsteps, but each time he thought he was catching up, they would vanish, only to reappear somewhere else. The climax came around 3:30 a.m. Marcus was in the control room when he heard the unmistakable sound of breathing directly behind him. Spinning around, flashlight in hand, he saw a figure standing just beyond the doorway, tall, cloaked in shadow, with a face he couldn't make out. He shouted and raised the flashlight, and the figure disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. Shaken, Marcus called the police again, and they arrived within minutes, searching the building thoroughly. There was no one there, no signs of forced entry, and no trace of the mysterious stalker. After that night, Marcus never worked alone on the night shift again. The story of the night shift stalker spread among other security guards, many of whom reported strange, unexplained activity at Greenfield Manufacturing. Some said the intruder was a former employee who had died in a tragic accident on the premises. Others believed it was something more sinister. Marcus doesn't know what he encountered that night, but he remembers the terror, the feeling that someone or something was always just a step behind him, waiting. 2. The Vanishing Visitor. It was a quiet Tuesday night when Lisa Moreno, a 32-year-old security guard at the Brookstone corporate offices, started her shift. The building was usually calm after hours, with most employees gone by 6 p.m. Lisa's routine was simple: monitor the lobby, check security cameras, and patrol the empty hallways. But this night would become anything but routine. Around 11:45 p.m., while making her first round of the office floors, Lisa noticed the front door had opened slightly. Confused, she looked at the security cameras and saw a man in a dark hoodie standing in the lobby. She pressed the intercom. "Sir, may I help you? The building is closed." The man didn't respond. He simply turned and walked down one of the corridors. Lisa radioed her supervisor but received no immediate answer. She decided to follow protocol and approach him cautiously. As she walked down the hall, the man seemed oblivious to her presence or deliberately ignoring her. "Sir, you need to leave immediately," she called out. But when she reached the end of the corridor, he had vanished. The hallway was empty, not a single door ajar. She checked the stairwells, the elevator, and the restrooms. Nothing. Lisa's unease grew. She returned to the lobby to review the camera footage, and to her horror, the footage showed the man entering the building, but never exiting. The last frame simply showed him frozen in the middle of the hallway, and then gone. Lisa's radio crackled to life. Her supervisor asked if she had checked the building thoroughly. She told him what she had seen. He instructed her to stay in the lobby while he called the police. But as she waited, she heard faint tapping sounds coming from the upper floors, like someone pacing. Her heart raced. An instinct told her to retreat to the security office. As she reached the door, she noticed the man's hoodie lying on the floor, neatly folded, as if he had simply disappeared into thin air. The police arrived within 15 minutes, sweeping the building from top to bottom. There was no forced entry, no sign of a hidden intruder, and no fingerprints on the hoodie. The building's security cameras were later analyzed in detail. There was no evidence of someone leaving the building. Whatever or whoever had entered had vanished without a trace. In the weeks following the incident, other security guards reported hearing footsteps, seeing shadows, or finding doors that should have been locked left open. Lisa, though shaken, continued working at Brookstone corporate offices, but she never forgot the eerie feeling that the building itself was alive in some way, capable of swallowing someone whole. She still checks every corner of the hallway before stepping into the upper floors, and always keeps her flashlight in hand. The Vanishing Visitor became a legend among the night staff. Everyone agreed. Some presences can't be explained, and sometimes the building itself seems to protect its secrets by hiding those who enter it. 3. The alarm that screamed back. Derek Collins, a 29-year-old security guard, had just started his night shift at a suburban shopping plaza. It was a cold, foggy evening in late October, and the mall's parking lot was nearly empty. Derek's job was usually routine monitor security cameras, check the entrances, and ensure that the alarms were armed after all stores closed. But tonight, something would happen that he would never forget. At around 1:10 a.m., while walking past the jewelry store, Derek noticed that one of the alarms had gone off. He immediately radioed the control room and approached the store cautiously, flashlight in hand. The doors were locked and all the lights were off. Derek assumed it was a false alarm, perhaps triggered by the wind or a sensor malfunction. But as he stood there, he felt a sudden chill run down his spine, and the alarm system inside the store began to blare, not in the usual piercing tone, but in a distorted, almost human-like scream. Derek froze. He could hear what sounded like faint whispers echoing through the speakers, as if someone or something was trying to communicate through the alarm system itself. He tried to shut it off using the control panel, but the screen flickered and went dark. Then, the alarms from other stores in the plaza started going off simultaneously, all producing the same horrifying, distorted wail. Derek's radio crackled, but instead of his supervisor's voice, he heard the same screaming, mixed with static. His heart pounding, Derek backed away from the store entrance and called the police. While he waited, he noticed the reflection of a shadowy figure in the jewelry store window. It was tall and seemed to move unnaturally, stretching and bending as if it didn't belong in the physical world. Every time he tried to approach, it would vanish from view, only to reappear somewhere else in the store. When the police arrived, they found nothing inside the stores. All alarms had returned to normal, the doors were secure, and the security cameras showed no signs of any intruder. Derek described the distorted screams and shadow, but they had no explanation. Some suggested it was a sophisticated hacker, others blamed faulty wiring, yet Derek knew what he had heard: something alive, something that seemed to feed on the panic the alarms created. For weeks afterward, Derek avoided patrolling the jewelry store. Even months later, when he returned for work, he reported strange occurrences, alarms going off on their own, brief flashes of shadow in the cameras, and a persistent feeling that someone or something was watching him. Other guards confirmed hearing strange noises late at night, though no one ever saw the figure Derek described. The incident became a chilling reminder that security systems, designed to protect, could sometimes awaken something beyond comprehension. Derek never fully recovered from that night, and the alarm that screamed back became a story that haunted every night shift guard at the plaza. It was a warning. Sometimes the very systems meant to keep intruders out can become the conduit for something far worse. 4. Footsteps in the dark. James Whitaker, a 35-year-old security guard, had been working the night shift at the old Riverside Hospital for nearly 3 years. The building was partially abandoned, with entire wings closed off for renovations, leaving long, echoing hallways and dimly lit corridors. Most guards found it unnerving, but James was used to it, or so he thought. One particularly quiet Wednesday night, James began his routine patrol around 12:30 a.m. The hospital was almost completely empty, except for the cleaning staff and a few night nurses. As he walked through the east wing, he noticed something strange, the faint sound of footsteps behind him. At first he assumed it was one of the cleaning crew, but the sound didn't match the rhythm of anyone he knew. It was slow, deliberate, and eerily soft, echoing off the walls in a way that made it impossible to locate the source. James called out, "Hello? Who's there?" No response. He quickened his pace, but the footsteps seemed to match him step for step. Panic started to set in. He checked the security cameras on his portable monitor. The hallways appeared empty. Every door he passed was closed, every room vacant. Yet the footsteps continued taunting, relentless, impossibly close. He decided to confront whatever was following him. James turned a corner sharply, shining his flashlight down the corridor. Nothing. But the moment he turned back to continue his patrol, he heard a faint whisper. James. His name echoed softly, almost mournfully, sending chills down his spine. The voice was low, distant, yet somehow inside his mind. He froze, straining to hear over the pounding of his own heartbeat. He moved cautiously toward the main lobby, trying to convince himself it was a trick of the empty halls. As he passed the old records room, he noticed the door ajar, a door that had been locked for months. With trembling hands, he pushed it open. Inside was a dark figure, hunched in the corner, almost invisible in the dim light. Before James could react, the figure vanished. No trace, no sound, just the lingering echo of footsteps that seemed to recede into the distance. James finished his patrol with an uneasy sense of being followed. Even when he returned to the security office, the feeling didn't leave him. Later that night, he reviewed the camera footage. Every hallway showed only empty corridors, yet on the east wing cameras, faint shadows could be seen moving along the walls, just at the edge of the light. The footage was grainy and brief, as if something was trying to remain unseen. After that night, James requested to be assigned to a different wing. Other guards later reported similar experiences, footsteps echoing behind them, shadows flickering in empty hallways, doors that opened by themselves. The hospital, they agreed, seemed alive in some way, its long-abandoned corridors, keeping secrets no one was meant to uncover. James never fully explained what he experienced, but every time he hears footsteps behind him in the dark, he can't shake the memory of that night. For the guards at Riverside Hospital, the phrase "footsteps in the dark" became more than a story, it was a warning. Some presences simply refused to be ignored. 5. The locked door. That wasn't Ethan Parker. A 30-year-old security guard worked the night shift at the historic Westbrook Hotel, a grand building from the 1920s with a reputation for being elegant by day and unsettling by night. The hotel's long, narrow corridors and countless rooms made his job challenging, but Ethan prided himself on his vigilance. Little did he know, one night would change how he viewed the building forever. It was around 2 a.m. when Ethan finished checking the main lobby. He was about to patrol the second floor when a guest's room door, room 217, caught his eye. The door was slightly ajar, strange, because he was certain it had been locked earlier. He approached and knocked. "Hello? Is anyone here?" No response. Ethan pulled out his master key and attempted to secure the door, but it clicked open easily, as if it had never been locked. Cautiously, he pushed the door open. The room appeared normal. Bed neatly made, luggage gone, lights off. Nothing unusual. But when he stepped inside, he felt a cold draft, unnatural in a building that was usually warm enough to discourage the chill. Then he heard it, a faint whisper, almost indecipherable but clearly human. "Why are you here?" The voice was soft, sorrowful, but urgent, sending a shiver down his spine. Ethan tried to leave the room, but the door slammed shut on its own. He tugged at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. His flashlight flickered, and in the dim light, he thought he saw a shadow moving across the floor, though the room was empty. Heart racing, Ethan radioed the front desk, asking for backup. No answer. The radio crackled, then went dead. He realized he was completely alone. After several tense minutes, the door finally creaked open, and Ethan stumbled out into the corridor. He ran to the elevator and checked the lobby cameras. On the footage, room 217's door had never opened or closed at all. It was locked the entire time, yet he had seen it, had touched it, had felt it slam shut on him. The discrepancy left him questioning his own senses. The incident didn't end there. Over the next few weeks, Ethan noticed other doors in the hotel behaving strangely. Doors that appeared unlocked one moment and locked the next. Hallways that seemed longer than they should be, and occasional glimpses of figures in the corner of his vision that vanished when he looked directly. Other guards whispered about room 217, claiming it had a history of unexplained activity, including previous reports of staff hearing voices, feeling unseen touches, or seeing doors that opened on their own. Ethan requested a change of assignment, but never stopped thinking about that night. He learned to always carry extra keys and keep a calm mind, but the memory of a locked door that wasn't, of being trapped in a room that should have been safe, haunted him. The locked door that wasn't became a story shared among night shift guards, a warning that some buildings have a life of their own, and some doors should never be opened alone. 6. Eyes watching from the shadows. Rachel Bennett, a 27-year-old security guard, had recently started her night shift at the abandoned Whitmore factory, a massive industrial building that had been closed for nearly a decade. The factory was notorious among locals for strange sightings and eerie sounds, but Rachel had always considered herself practical, nothing a flashlight and a walkie-talkie couldn't handle. She was about to learn otherwise. Around 12:40 a.m., Rachel began her patrol of the factory's main floor. The building was a labyrinth of steel beams, broken machinery, and dusty office rooms. Her flashlight cut through the darkness, but the shadows seemed unnaturally thick, clinging to corners as if alive. As she walked past a row of old assembly lines, she felt a sudden chill and the unmistakable sensation of being watched. She stopped, scanning the area with her flashlight, but there was nothing, just the skeletal remains of the factory equipment. Dismissing it as her imagination, she continued. Moments later, a glint of light caught her eye in a second-floor window. She looked up, and there they were, two faintly glowing eyes staring directly at her. She froze, her heart pounding. The eyes didn't blink, didn't move, but seemed to follow her every step. Rachel radioed the control room, her voice trembling. "I see eyes. Upstairs. I don't know who's there." Her supervisor reassured her, suggesting it might be a reflection or an animal. But Rachel knew better. The eyes were too focused, too deliberate. She cautiously approached the staircase, determined to confront whatever or whoever it was. Halfway up the stairs, the eyes vanished. She continued to the second floor, scanning each office and hallway. Nothing. The factory was completely empty. Yet every time she turned a corner or glanced at a shadowed doorway, she felt that same piercing gaze, as if someone or something was always just out of sight. The unsettling experience escalated around 2:15 a.m. Rachel heard footsteps echoing behind her, soft but deliberate, matching her pace exactly. Every time she spun around, the factory appeared empty. The eyes, however, had returned, now in a dark office window at the end of a long hallway. She tried calling for backup, but the radio emitted only static. Her flashlight flickered, and in the dim glow, she could swear the eyes were moving closer, though the distance didn't change. By the time her backup arrived, the eyes were gone, and the factory seemed entirely normal again. Security cameras reviewed later showed no movement, no intruders, nothing that could explain Rachel's terrifying experience. Other guards told her similar stories, strange glimmers, shadows in the corners of their vision, the feeling of being watched. Some left the job entirely, unwilling to return to the night shift. Rachel still patrols at night, but she now keeps her flashlight on full beam and never walks alone near the second floor. The eyes watching from the shadows became a legend among the factory's night guards, a haunting reminder that some presences may remain unseen, yet always aware. In that factory, no one ever truly feels alone because something is always watching. Whoa, if those stories didn't give you chills, I don't know what will. If you want more true scary stories and creepy night shift experiences, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a spine-tingling tale. Trust me, you don't want to be the one left in the dark.